Hey everyone, and welcome to Backseat Sports. I'm Josh, that is Caleb, and we are back at it again. Obviously, shout out Caleb for being the hard carry last week, the workhorse, no doubt. But obviously, today we're talking about a Nebraska game where, we finally did it. Back-to-back wins, first time in what feels like forever in the Big Ten, and we have a ton to talk about. Caleb, how you doing?
Man, I'm doing great. This is the first time in 4 years that we get to talk about back-to-back Big Ten wins. That is rather shocking. I didn't think we would be here. Who would have thought? Not us. But just glad to be able to talk about a win. It blows my mind thinking that, we started this all those years ago, that it would have been this bad. But hey, now we got Mickey. Everything's fixed. We're winning every single game here from here on out, and everything's great. So I'm doing awesome.
Heck yeah. Obviously 2 weeks in a row, we win games when we're tied or down in the fourth quarter. And that's something that we hadn't seen at Nebraska in years and years and years. So those are things that Mickey, I don't think it's just a coincidence that Mickey takes over and then that happens immediately. There is at least some sort of mentality shift, and we'll be breaking all of that down in this game for sure. And we'll start on the offensive side, then we'll head on to the defensive side and kind of go from there. Overall, again, obviously, this was just a weird, ugly, nasty, disgusting game. It was just some classic Big Ten football right here.
Yeah, classic. I was just going to say.
Oh my gosh. The first half was some of the worst football I may have ever seen in my life, especially from Nebraska. And
that's saying something.
That's saying something. No doubt about it. What were your thoughts on this offense in the first half?
We just couldn't get anything going whatsoever. Our run game was completely stopped the whole game. Obviously, Anthony Grant didn't even break 50 yards, and he'd been averaging 120. Our offensive line got destroyed, and that's kind.
How nice of you, yeah.
I know, thank you. They got destroyed. Shout out Turner Cochran for getting a 0.0 pass or blocking on PFF.
He's back, baby.
He's back, a complete zero. Starts with the offensive line. When we're just somebody's getting through every single time, Casey doesn't rarely had 2 seconds to throw the football. It just expanded upon I didn't like what we were targeting in this first half. We were trying to get some deeper throws. That's just not what Rutgers was giving us that first half. I think so. We just really I didn't like the mindset or game plan that we had going in.
Yeah, well, at the same time though, it does correlate at least a little bit though with Rutgers winding down a little bit in the second half and getting at least a little bit more fatigued, and that opens up more opportunities to have more time to throw the ball. Because in that first half, again, like you said, we were trying different combinations of tackles with Turner on the left or right, using offset offensive lines to give us a different look and maybe some different player personnel out there. And nothing was really working. Casey got rocked multiple times in the first half, even came out for a little bit because of just how badly he got smoked. I don't know. Those are the things that get me a little bit nerdy.
He paid for these guys dinner. How do they repay him? Trying to put him in the hospital. My goodness.
I know. Seriously,
it's so
bro.
Sad. It just drives me insane. Chancellor Brewington or Travis Vokalek are best offensive linemen, and they're tight ends.
Yeah, when Brewington comes in, it's what he's going to be doing. He's going to be blocking, and he does it really well.
Thank goodness.
Yeah. At this point, I'm not sure there's going to be an answer this year. The personnel is obviously the problem. When Turner's out there every single play, we benched Benhart in this game for Hunter Anthony, and there was no difference whatsoever. Literally zero. We looked exactly the same, and I think at this point, it's hard to be confident in anything this offensive line does rest of the year. Even though Rutgers' front seven was definitely
they're solid,
really solid, and that came to play in this game. That was something I was pretty worried about. In the predictions video I had, you mentioned that for me. I was worried that we might have some problems against this front seven, especially in the run game, which we did in this game.
I didn't expect it to be that bad.
And Anthony Grant only averaged 2.5, 2.5 a carry, 19 carries for 47 yards in this game, and the offensive line was doing him no help whatsoever.
No, his 4-yard runs were actually 7-yard runs because he had to break a tackle in the backfield every time. It was just ridiculous.
A long of 7.
That's just wild. It was just bad. And then Casey Thompson, it was hard. he kind of adjusted. Again, just kudos to him that he plays through injuries. He's a tough dude, and he comes back out in the second half. He keeps slinging. And, he figured it out. offensive line, you'd never know. It was just a roll of the dice every single play. He took it on the chin and just kept going. Kept slinging.
Yeah, again, with Whipple, I still feel like we could do more to help Casey in some of these situations when it comes to just alleviating some of the pressure. Obviously these underneath deep crossing, or at least underneath crossing routes, are basically the only thing that was really working for us in this game. But Casey had some incredible plays to dump the ball off when under pressure. to like Anthony Grant like multiple times, and those types of things I thought were like fantastic plays. So the bigger question for me will be like, what more can we do? I mean, the touchdown came from basically like a pistol I formation with basically having a fullback in there as pass protection.
Our best plays there are
you bring the tight end in.
Where Chancellor Brewington is the fullback, and then Anthony Grant is the tailback.
Basically, you play max protect with having both a tight end in the backfield and Anthony Grant there, which gives him actually enough time to throw downfield. And would you look at that? He actually has some time, and we score some points.
Yeah, and it's just a good set anyway because Chancellor Brewington, then we could just hand the ball off to Anthony Grant, and we actually have a lead blocker. So I do think it is one of our best formations for sure.
I would assume we'll see more of that moving forward for sure. I mean, I think we could definitely get Casey out of the pocket a little bit more too. I mean, he is really good, especially rolling out to his right. I mean, he's very good rolling out to his right. And so, I mean, unlike Adrian, where like that was just like you knew that ball was either going to get thrown out of bounds or picked or something.
Or he's just Casey,
I actually have a lot of confidence. Yeah, exactly. So with Casey, I really want to see more of it, honestly. I'm just surprised that Whipple's not drawing it up more.
Yeah, me too. The wide receivers, obviously Trey Palmer had a great game. Got to talk about him. The awesome touchdown. Yeah. He's just such a good wide receiver. It just keeps developing each week.
Yeah, that second half, he was on point in the second half. I mean, at the end of the day, it's really a tale of two halves for us. I mean, the first half was just basically terrible from everyone. And then you go to the second half, and then suddenly we're in a decent spot. Yeah, exactly.
Just really athletic plays. Just a couple. His catch radius is pretty great. And again, the deep threat is just there. Finally, we got the play we wanted, and again, got some protection in that second half. I mean, Washington kind of had a bad game, I was going to say, as well.
For sure. That was one topic I think I wanted to talk about was kind of that wide receiver, too. I mean, obviously, Palmer is the guy here. But then, like, at wide receiver, too, it's like, it's Marcus Washington, and then it's just, who knows? And, like, even with Washington, like, he's obviously inconsistent. And that even went back to his play back at Texas, where he was pretty inconsistent. Lacks upside for sure. And I mean, we even saw that like with the dropped pass in this game and some of those misses and lack of execution. He's not great at getting separation.
Omar's been hurt. Oliver has had some good moments and some bad moments. Ramir we haven't really seen. IGC was great in the first game and then never was seen again. So yeah, I just really don't know who it is either. Hopefully one of them can. I mean, again, at this point, it's Marcus Washington, because I think of the connection that they both had at Texas.
And then probably Alante is that slot guy, but it's like, man, it's just a shame that we haven't
even in that consistently. Do you think that because we rotate so much that we really haven't had some consistency at that level where it's just too much switching on the wide receivers?
I think it's the other way around. I think we're rotating so much because we don't have anyone that stepped up.
Gotcha.
So I don't know. That definitely limits a little bit of our playmaking just because, you know, it's like we definitely have seen there, like that first pick. It's like Casey stared down Trey Palmer the whole way down the sideline and then heaved it up to him when he shouldn't have. Those type of things.
And he got lit up, by the way, too.
Well, he got lit up too, but I think it was a bad spot either way. I mean, the safety was over the top. Palmer was pretty caked there. So like those are the things Casey can get himself into a little bit of problems. And like obviously he didn't play very well in this game compared to what we have seen this year. But
he did not. That's
the template to beat us is to double Trey Palmer and force the other guys to beat you. And when Vokalec's not attacking like we felt like we talked about you talked about in the predictions video, but we both did notes for it. But like we thought we could attack the seams against Rutgers here because Iowa did. We
did
saw
on the touchdown.
Boston College do it. The touchdown, it was like basically the only time this game where we saw the seams attacked.
Again, Vokalek really wasn't targeted enough in this game. I definitely agree. And he was the big reason we won the game where we got to burn more clock there on that big third down conversion and the touchdown. But again, just not enough targets. And I think I think probably it's the case of our offensive line is so bad, Vokalek has to block.
Well, that's...
He's a great wide receiver, or he's a great catching target as a tight end, but we need him on the pass block because we can't.
Then I think we should start running some more 12 personnel then, but like where you have like Brewington in and fullback, and then you have Vokalek out there still at tight end, and then you try to find some ways to attack this defense in that way then, because like at this point, I think that might be our best bet against any decent front seven.
Just huge.
Any like final thoughts on its offense? Like overall optimistic? Were you a little bit disappointed overall? I mean, you had to be at least a little disappointed with the performance here because we thought there was some upside for this game.
I didn't love all the running plays that we had. Again, all of it was kind of obvious of we were going to pull Brewington or pull guys into these power runs. And I would just like to have seen some just some more straight stretch plays.
Where you at with like Whipple at this point? We definitely had some issues with like the 4th down call and those types of things in this game.
Yeah, that 4th and 1 on 5 wide. Again, I just thought sometimes just getting too cute. I still trust Anthony Grant to get that 1
the end around
yard.
with Trey Palmer.
Yeah, again, just trust your best guy in Anthony Grant. Like, you just roll the dice with him. If you lose when your best player is going up against it to get a yard, like, then you lose with that way. I'd way rather live and die by Anthony Grant than I get that Trey Palmer is definitely one of our better players too. I don't mind it, but like, again, it was really slow.
On that was the problem.
Yeah, it was execution. It was slow developing. Again, where our guys aren't fast enough. Offensive line can't get out and block linebackers. We can't really get to that second level very well. So that play just doesn't bode well for us.
Yeah, I mean, I get it in the sense that like we weren't really finding much success with Grant in the big scheme of things, but like at the same time, like we did convert a handful of 3rd downs, like on 3rd and 2 and 3rd and 3 with him there in the first half. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he was still averaging 2.5 yards, which was what we
which is more than one.
It was more than one twice. So again, yeah, I'd rather live and die by Anthony Grant.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, so the defensive side, what were your biggest thoughts here defensively?
Man, just really good after, the first couple drives where they got some big passes on us. But, the coverage wasn't terrible. It's not like it was giant blown coverage. It was just some pretty good athletic catches.
Yeah, I mean, Hartzog was outsized.
Yeah, exactly. And it was a couple really good throws by Vedral. But again, it's not like they were broken off for touchdowns. It's still, they had to earn it afterwards. And, that was really it afterwards. Our defense really did a solid job. We got a good amount of sacks. Again, this was an offensive line that Josh and I said was, very targetable. Another bad offensive line in the Big Ten. And we did a good job. We got 4 sacks. We got some pressures. O'Shawn had his best
11
sack
hurries
of the
and 5 hits.
Yeah. Like, that's just really good. Like, that's what our defensive front should do. We have 2 guys that are good at pass rushing, and they converted it. I thought Garrett Nelson probably had his best
huge game. Yeah.
So that was, again, exciting. We needed big play from him, and he showed up. Reimer had his another solid game from him.
That was his best game of the season.
So
no
2
doubt.
in a row. Like, again, he remembered how to play football again, which is nice.
So again, like, I think this is interesting. Bill Bush's new defense here. I mean, anything else you've noticed so far now 2 games in with this Bill Bush defense and how he calls games or how he uses these guys? Like, what are the differences here? Because at least something's different.
Yeah. I mean, he definitely does mix up a good amount of like man and zone. He loves going man and single high safety. And I do really respect that a lot of the time. And again, I feel like we're a little bit more creative on the pass rushing side. And he's okay with risking it with rushing a little bit more too.
He's a little bit more aggressive, it feels like. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, that's boded well for us because we do have guys that can get to the quarterback. So if you send an extra guy, that helps everyone on the defensive line.
Yeah, there's actually some really nice sets there where we actually brought in Caleb Tanner at D end and then let Garrett Nelson play inside and Mathis rush as well. So we had all 3 of them on the field at once. So I actually like that a lot. I think when it comes to the linebacking core, it's interesting. I mean, Henrich looked better again. And so this is like, what, 3 games in a row where he's looked better almost each time?
I mean, serviceable. I mean, or he actually makes some tackles where if he looks more confident, which is just good. I mean, he's still bad in coverage.
Yeah. And he has some moments.
Again, I get why we go man because I hate our zone coverage where our linebackers are like where Garrett Nelson gets caught in coverage or that type of stuff. I'm not a fan. Game. Yeah. And then where he's on Langen or he's on that can't happen against Sam Laporta where Garrett Nelson's ever on him. Like that just, we're going to get cooked if that's the case.
It's nice to win this game, but at the same time, like, in so many ways, it felt like Rutgers lost the game more than we won it. I mean, our defense, turnovers in the second half were
our defense
terrible.
Definitely played good enough to win. It was more the offense kind of lost. Like more felt like Yeah. Our defense definitely played a solid game.
Both teams had 9 penalties, but Rutgers, in that second half, I mean, the personal foul. And then the false start on 4th and 1.
Those offensive PIs were weird. There were so many of those.
Yeah, and total of 3 offensive PIs in this game. But yeah, like the false start on 4th and 1, like that is killer.
Yeah.
Like that is truly a Scott Frost Nebraska special. Like,
false start on
my gosh.
Third and one,
and then touch back the punt. Yeah. Like, wow. Impressive. I mean, that's some flashbacks, no doubt. But with the linebackers again, though, like, it does feel like they're playing a little bit looser, a little bit more free. I haven't fully gauged exactly why yet, but Henrich seems to be a little bit more decisive. And maybe part of that's related to hitting in practice. Maybe he feels a little bit more comfortable flying around the field. I don't know. But he does seem a little bit looser now.
And it's fun, like just new players being out there. Obviously
Yeah.
Hartzog, really great standout this far. And
Well,
again,
we definitely need to talk about Hartzog's second half there. I mean, he definitely improved a lot in the second half. But I mean, like, at the same time, Brandon Moore too. I mean, he had the huge pick and like a really great play dropping off of his guy to make the play on the flat there and make and convert the turnover. It's like, okay, I mean, we're seeing Brandon Moore making plays, Frost's favorite person, and Malcolm Hartzog now. So like, at least we have some decent options there with Tommy Hill out of the picture.
Yeah, and Ty Robinson too has looked better as well as we've gone along. Finally, I mean, we shouldn't have been this bad ever. Like,
yeah, I do think that Ty Robinson's getting a little bit more comfortable playing more interior than last year.
I agree,
but like, even though the difference hasn't been as big as we hoped it would be, when it comes to his snaps on the edge, but I do agree. Like overall, I think we're starting to see a little bit more consistency from the front 3 or 4.
And our
there.
defense was put in some bad spots in the first half and bailed us out.
Yeah.
That was. I mean, they held them to 6 points when they were inside. Like we gave them great field position.
With 2 turnovers and a blocked punt in the first half. I mean, we could have easily been down 21-0.
21.
And it could have been 28.
13. But our defense played a great game. Awesome. I get that Rutgers doesn't have a great offense.
Is terrible. And we talked about this. I mean,
but they're also
one game was
opportunistic.
Keeping them in the stat books.
They're usually pretty solid when they're inside like that red zone because they don't get that many opportunities.
For sure.
And
so overall, like, do you leave this game more optimistic about the defense than even considering the fact that Rutgers is maybe the worst offense we'll see rest of the season? I mean, them or maybe like Iowa.
Yeah, I mean, I think so because we tackled better. I think that's the bright side of this game is there was a lot of really good tackles, a lot of good open field tackles that we had not seen under Nebraska. There were still times where we broke down for sure, especially when people got to those sidelines, those screen plays. Those are definitely, we need to address those. We need to practice those a lot more because, that is still concerning. But, a lot of times, again, we could tackle the running back. They're only getting 3 yards, not getting 5 yards.
I think the hope is that this defense isn't going to be like the worst of all time.
They're not going to give up 515 yards against Georgia Southern anymore.
But I think that's where we're at. Like maybe instead of being 128th in the country, dead last, we'll be like 90th. Or like 80th. And like
75th.
That can be enough in the Big Ten West this season to get us to like 6 wins.
Yeah.
It's possible. Especially when you have a Purdue game next week and then Illinois and, who knows what's going to happen.
And seeing some of these young guys develop gives us some hope for the next couple of years too.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, especially guys like Hartzog.
It's building blocks. Yeah. Gifford playing better, Hartzog playing better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Some building blocks for us to have.
I mean, Mickey is now 2-1. And basically has done exactly what everyone hoped he could do, which I mean, obviously we wouldn't have liked to lose to Oklahoma that badly, but he's won the 2 games
first
that
game.
Frost
that's a tough spot.
May not have.
That was a tough spot to be in. Yeah, I mean, he's already doubled Scott Frost's Big Ten wins from last year.
And we won off a bye week, which was like the thing we've never done with Frost ever.
After
in the Indiana game. So like there's a lot of positives here.
We're a worse team this year, and we've already won 2 Big Ten games.
We got the same record as we did last year through 6 games.
Yeah, we already have as many wins. So every win here is just gravy.
The schedule is, I mean, come on. I mean,
it is easier, but I mean,
Rutgers. We can't get ahead of ourselves here.
But in the same light, Illinois wasn't that great. Wasn't good last year.
No,
we still lost to those teams.
Fair enough.
So we lost to some bad Big Ten teams last year when we shouldn't have. So.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. So it'll be interesting to see it. Drop your comments down below. We want to see what you guys have to say. Hit subscribe so you don't miss more videos because, I mean, that's a shame. And hit the notification bell so that you never miss a video. But as always, guys, I'm Josh. That's Caleb. This has been Backseat Sports, and we will see you next time. Go Big Red, baby.